The following is a presentation on the Donniesport 17 Network. Two, three, four. I'm bringing football back, and that's a fact. I'm bringing football back, sexy back. Put it back on the track, Jack. Football, football, Bringing football back, bringing football back, bringing football back, bringing football back. I'm bringing football back. Football is like bacon. And the Donniesport Football Show is frying up a big skillet full of it. Dig in. Who knows? You may sit right next to Batman. Wipe me down. 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 Welcome to the football show on the Donniesport 17 Network on YouTube. Woo! Football show. We're coming to you from the Omni Dallas Hotel. And it's big tools. Talk about what's to come in 2015. But let's bring you back to last year. It was all about two teams last year, Baylor and TCU. These two teams played in an epic battle, which Baylor won. And that is where all the fun began. Despite the fact Baylor won that game, TCU ended up in the top 4 of the college football playoff rankings. And they were there for a while. Until the last one, where they got bounced out by Ohio State. And we all know what happened in that. Ohio State ended up winning the national championship at AT&T Stadium. For TCU, well, there's an old saying, hell hath no fury than a horned frog scorned. And those mad horned frogs went down to Atlanta and beat down Johnny Rev and Ole Miss to prove their point that they're worthy of another shot at the big-time national ranking, which brings us to this year. TCU, most people think they're going to win the Big 12. Many of them think they're going to run the table and go undefeated. What does the coach Gary Patterson think about that? He has most of his players back and a good shot to win it all, and who knows? They may end up playing Ohio State sometime in the playoffs. We shall see. But for now, coming up next on the Donniesport Football Show, Coach Gary Patterson and TCU talk about what's to come with the Horned Frogs. That's next on the Donniesport Football Show.
I didn't know that. So is this the same mascot from the other day? Did you take pictures of that? You don't know.
We'll see.
Where's your hometown?
I'm from Fort Worth.
Which high school did you go to?
I went to Tcu-Coach. It's really little.
Yeah, Pennsylvania. Do you know Luke Jones?
Yes. Yeah.
A good friend of mine.
Yeah. She went there.
And if we've got hands up, if you would be sure and keep your hand up when you ask the question and state your name and your affiliation on the far left-hand side.
Gary, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. A year ago at this time, I'm not sure everybody thought Trayvon was your starting quarterback. Now a year later, he's obviously the guy, had a great year. Can you just talk about his evolution and how he got to such a fantastic point with your offense last year?
You know, I told people, if you were listening, some weren't listening, you know, that really he was the toughest quarterback that I played against. You know, going through his errors, you know, just it had not come to fruition on the field, and so really, I wasn't surprised by his success. I think we were all surprised that offensively, because last spring, spring 4 going into last season, it wasn't one of those situations. We just weren't very good when we ended spring. You know, we were learning. Some guys were hurt, so you really couldn't tell. And then our kids really came along in the summertime on their own, really bonded and started doing it, and then things happened. So Trayvon's case, I think one of the things is you know, I tried to do, and I talked to the whole offense about it. I think going into year 2, having not been known for offense is just handling success. I think the word frustration, but understanding winning is the most important thing, and then all the rest to come, that they don't have to score more points, have more yards. It's going to be, we play on the road, 6 tough road games. It's hard to, if you're going to win those ball games, it's going to be hard to win by a couple of the margins that we did last year. So, you know, that's the thing that I've tried to instill in Trayvon, is to make sure, and you know, I've been very proud of him, in fact, of everything that the circuit he's been on, some of the awards, everything he's been a part of, that he's handled it in the right way, at least of my knowledge. You know, head coach sometimes the last guy to know everything, so.
We got a question on the aisle, and then we'll move over to the back.
Coach Ben Kirschwell from Bleacher Report, staying on Trayvon and how he's handled himself sort of during the circuit. How about his growth as a leader? We know he's grown on the field as a quarterback, but how about him sort of taking over not just this offense, but this team?
You know, probably the best example of that, he's had a couple of the NFL guys, quarterbacks, you know, the gurus that wanted him to come work out with him this summer doing it, he told them all no. I think, you know, his biggest thing was, you know, staying with the offensive group this summer, making sure they were doing 7-on-7, winning ball games. He knows all that. Whether he believes or he doesn't believe it, at least he's doing the right things, and I think that's half the battle. So, you know, sometimes you can get lulled into everything, especially going from where we were to where he is now. And so for us, from everything I've seen up to this point, he's handled it very well. You know, for us, we have a lot of older guys on offense, so the leadership aspect, it's not just him. It's been Joey Hunt that's here today. You know, Josh Dotson. You have many that played in a lot of football games.
We have a question on the right-hand side, all the way to the back.
Coach, Carlos Mendez, Fort Worth Star-Telegram.
What's up, Carlos?
Not much.
That's what my wife says when she's talking to me.
What's up, Carlos?
You didn't know I was that fast, did you? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was trying to set you up for one. You walk in here, the first thing you said was, you know, you're walking in here this year, not 4-8, you're 12-1. What do you think of the distance you've come in just 1 year in this league to walk into this room today as really the lead favorite in this league?
You know, I don't. It's a nice feeling, but the bottom line is I've been in this business too long to get caught up in it. You know, I know that last year we didn't have any linebackers, we didn't have a quarterback, we didn't have. This year I've got to replace 6 starters on defense, and we came a long way in the spring. But you know, the thing I found is just for me, if I stay even keel with how we need to do things, then my team will, because it just kind of all reverberates down. And so for me, I'm just going to, it doesn't, what I think when I, you know, go to bed at night and not just in the Big 12, but everything that we've been able to accomplish at TCU in the last 18 years. It's all great and fine, but it's kind of like winning any awards. You can put them all in the closet because it doesn't mean anything to anybody anymore when we play Minnesota. So right now we've been moving forward. And I really like the attitude of our football team. This summer's been a very business-like manner, how they've gone about it. To be honest with you, it hasn't been as hot in Texas, so we've had to turn off the air conditioner in the indoor to create the humidity, to make sure that we play like TCU teams are supposed to play. And so, if there's any actions from me that would indicate that I didn't go back to the beginning, I tried not to make sure I gave any of those away. So we've been trying to do what we need to do.
Coach, try not to touch your mic.
Further questions for Coach? Got a question on the front, and then we'll go back to the back.
Coach, don't touch your mic. Don't touch your mic.
Gotcha.
Hey Gary, Suzanne Halliburton with the Austin American Statesman.
Sure.
Questions about two of your positions. It looked like in the spring you had an abundance of wide receivers, enough to move some of them around. And the second question is about your linebackers, because it looked like you didn't have a lot of depth there.
Well, I don't know if you ever had enough of anything. We try not to have, but we had the same guys coming back. We have some freshmen coming in. We lost Josh Porter, but everybody else is back. I think, like any football team, the key was in the last half of the season, until we got to the bowl game, we were beat up at that position, and it showed in our numbers. And so I think, like anybody else, you've got to stay healthy. Linebacker-wise, we had two young guys, both Mike Freeze and Alex Dunham, that came in the spring. Ty Summers redshirted. And to be honest with you, it's back to the numbers we had. You know, our starting linebackers last year ran 5 flat, 4 8. It was the slowest group we've ever had at TCU. The 5 top linebackers this year averaging 4 5 something. When we ran at the end of spring. So we feel like defensively, not just linebacker-wise, we have a chance to be more athletic than we were a year ago. You've got to replace a Kevin White and then Sam Carter and Chris Hackett. So you have a group of guys that for the last 3 years in the Big 12 that picked 65 footballs. So there's a lot of production that we have to be able to replace. How do you do that? And so we started in the spring, because I treat spring like a two-a-days, where it's really about being physical and learning. And then when we get into two-a-days, it's just an addition. And hopefully it carries through. We got a lot of practices before we get to Minnesota, which is going to be a very tough ball game. You know, it's like Custer. The only difference in Custer and us is we know what's on the other side of the hill. And so for us going into it, then you have Stephen F. Austin, SMU, and then you have a very tough 4-game swing with going to Lubbock, and then Texas at home, and then going to Manhattan, and going to Ames. So 3 out of 4, so you play a lot of road games in a row and get ready to go. But it's that's the Big 12, so we're excited about it, and we've got to embrace it and go forward.
A question on the left-hand side on the aisle.
Hey Gary, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman again. Bob Goolsby was in here a little bit ago talking about the limiting days of contact for teams to 2, including a game day. What's been your situation in the past? How much hitting have you guys done, and how is that going to affect you?
It's easy for us. We just, on Tuesday, that's the only day we're in full pads. Besides the game, everybody always looks surprised at me because we're physical, but Sunday we're in shorts, Tuesday we're in full, Wednesday we're in shells, Thursday we're in shorts. We've been that way since, really since we've been at TCU. Our whole thing is about being physical in the spring, being physical in 2 days, and then when you get in the season, in this league, you've got to be able to pull up because of the bodies, and you've got to be able to get guys to the end of the season. And so, we've always taken that. I think what you'll find that there's a majority of coaches, there's a false sense of we just try to bang our kids around, but I think all of us, we like keeping our jobs, and we want to keep our kids healthy, and we've all been like that. Fresh shoulders, fresh legs means more physical players, and so once we get to that point, but that's what we've always felt like we needed to do. I've even when you go every other day, we're probably only down even in 2 days, where we go maybe 2 days we're in full pads, both practices. That's it. We don't even do it in 2 days. So I think it's not so much part of the climate of everything that's going on with it. I just think the body types. I just felt like the body types are getting so big, so strong, so fast. I think it's just important to make sure that you get all your guys to game day and keep them healthy. And that's been our mindset for a long time. Best teams play at the end of the year.
We've got a question on the far left-hand side towards the front.
There you go.
Gary, Ryan Gerbosi of the Dallas Morning News. You had worked with Dick Bumpus for a good percentage of your career. With his retirement, how are things different not having him around, and how much are things going to be different on the field with Coaches Cross and Glasgow?
Well, they were all here before. I think it's probably the most experienced staff we've had in a couple of years, because obviously Coach Glasgow's been with us a long time. He's been the guy he's been with me longer than what Coach Bumpus. In some situations, obviously losing a guy that's been in the profession as long as Coach Bumpus had, it's really hard to replace that. But Coach Sharp has been in our program for a long time. They'll be our D-line coach, and Coach Cross now being his third year. Just the spring and the fall is there's way different than what it was starting when young coaches in our scheme come in. And then Paul Gonzalez, that is our corner coach, really is a guy that's been behind the scenes, was a graduate assistant. Probably one of the more articulate guys we've ever had. Done a great job recruiting so far. So I feel really good about where we're at as a staff. Obviously, you have, when you lose a coach, and that's where our seniors are coming back. Our older group is our senior guys up front. You worry about it all, but I thought they did very well in the spring. And I think the farther they get along, fall will even be better because you just have a different guy coaching.
We've got a question on the left-hand side and halfway back. Suzanne, go ahead.
Sorry, multitasking. Gary, this time last year, how much of your offense had y'all installed from the new offense, and then how much more have you added to the playbook?
Well, I don't think, I think one of the secrets to that offense is that they try to out-execute you. I think what we try to do is just do it better in the spring. Everybody's told me that there's always another level, second year, and so kind of like last year, I'm going to wait and see what the difference is. I think it's, when you've been around other kinds of offenses, you kind of know the progression. This will only be my second year of being the head coach with this offense, so I don't know what the progression is besides playing against it. But everybody that I've talked to has talked about taking another level. One of the things is just you now have your older guys to teach your younger guys, where it was kind of a brand new thing in the summertime before, where now you're getting a lot more reps. You're able to run more of your offense in the summer. You're able to do all those things, which we didn't get a chance to do as much a year ago because they didn't know all of it. So, this offense is a little bit even more like our defense. It's all about execution. Look like you're doing a lot of things. You throw in a few bells and whistles, but it's about being better at what they do than what other people are, and plugging in good players.
We've got time for a final question on the front.
Coach, it's Oliver Richardson from Orange Bloods. How confident do you feel that your team would be in the playoffs without having a conference championship game in the Big 12?
Well, after last year, I don't feel confident about anything. But the key to the whole story is I'm going to always be a team player. The bottom line to it, I handle it the way I handle it because that was what was best for college football, best for the Big 12, best for TCU, best for my team, and I knew if I handled it differently that they wouldn't have played like they did in the bowl game. And so for me, I think every year is different. I'm not a big believer that you have to have a conference championship. I thought the whole thing about going to a playoff was that they picked the four best teams. You didn't even have to have a championship game. That's what I was led to believe. In 33 years, I've seen different forms of how we got to a national championship in every shape and manner. So for me, all I can do is control what I can control, and that's to try to put the best TCU team on the field that I can and make sure that they act right on and off the field, and let all those other people decide all the other things they need to. But there was 8 really good football teams last year, I thought. And I think I would have told you before we even went into the season, there's always about, every year there's always about 8. There's very few times that I ever look up and say, well, this team here, when I watch, and I don't get a chance to watch a lot, I say this team is so much better than everybody else, they're the favorite. I think once you get into one of those tournaments, you do all of it. And our key is to control our own destiny, and the best way to do that is just try to win them all, and that's what we're going to try to get done. And then we'll see how everything else falls. But you know, I think you have to. For me, I have to believe and trust in the operation of what goes on. That everybody's going to deal above board. Everybody's going to do the right thing, because that's what we don't do it for the coaches. We do it for the kids. The kids are the ones that are practicing all the way 365 days a year and doing the things they're supposed to do. And that's how we're supposed to find the top 4 teams. Not about money, not about leverage, not about anything else. It's just supposed to be about who are the 4 best teams. And so I've been in this long enough that I have to believe that the people are in charge of it. That's what they're going to do. And you know, we've only done it 1 year, and just like coming into this conference, they said you had to do it a couple of years till you finally understood the landscape, and then how we had to recruit differently, how do we have to play differently. We changed offenses, and I think we have to also look and wait and see how was last year an anomaly, or because a couple games could have been different. You know, maybe both Baylor and ourselves could have been in the playoffs. And so I can't judge a group yet until I kind of see it go out a couple more years and see how that all extends. So we'll see.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much for your comments, and best of luck.
Thank you.
That was TCU head coach Gary Patterson talking about his team, his Horned Frogs, and what's to come in 2015. And as you mentioned, 2 years ago they started off 4-8. Last year, 12-1, and this year they're the lead horse in the Derby in the Big 12. And the question that I might ask this. Do you think TCU still gets respect on a national basis in college football after what happened in the college football playoffs? And you think this is the time to really prove something? We're going to find out. Coming up next, more from the Big 12 Football Media Day here in Dallas. A lot of football coming up, and we're going to give it to you right here on the Donniesport 17 Network.